You're listening to Small Business Talk with Jerry. Sit in on great conversations with entrepreneurs who risk everything chasing the American dream.
Hey everybody, here we are with another episode of Small Business Talk with Jerry. Jerry, we have Debra Patzner with us tonight, and also Jordan Carillo. Jordan, say hi.
Hi, I'm Jordan Carillo. I'm an ISO developer with Drop the Fee, and I am your co-host today.
And Deb, how about you?
Tell
us a little bit about you.
Thank you, Jerry. My name is Debra Patzner, and I grew up over by small town St. Charles here in Minnesota. Grew up on a farm and love being around people. And I have 3 wonderful children, and I have 4 grandbabies. My passion is my grandchildren, of course. I love them. It's fun, and I also love health and wellness. I'm very passionate about health and wellness. Have been in my whole life, really. And I like to teach other people about it. I like to show them how they can, feel better and feel better about themselves. And I'm involved with a wonderful company called Alovea. Our goal as a company is to eradicate malnutrition using a social business platform. And you're probably asking, what does that mean? Well, for every single serving that we sell, our company donates the same nutritional science to a child in need. And our goal is to eradicate malnutrition around the world by doing
awesome.
that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. How long have you been with Alovea?
Been with Alovea since 2014.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, because you've been coming to my auto shop for how long? It's been almost since the beginning, isn't it? Because we opened in 2004.
Yeah, so I think I've been there. I moved to Rochester in 2007-ish.
Okay.
So
almost since the beginning of it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I remember she was very sweet, but she asked, I was about probably at least 300 pounds at the time. And she had asked at one point if I had any interest in getting healthy. And I was not offended. So let's just, she was so sweet about it. And I had absolutely no interest in getting healthy, to be honest. It's only been the last 6 months. That's been, like I said, almost 20 years ago that you did that. And so I've lived as a glutton the last 20 years, just not really concerned until these last 6 months. And it's kind of hitting close to home now. And I'm wishing I would have listened to you a long time ago.
Everybody's got to be ready when they're ready. And that's why I never really push it.
No, you were so sweet about it. I just know because family members and others were less sweet about it.
The hardest part too is psychologically you don't see it in the mirror until it's too late.
Yeah.
Right. Or you look at old photos and new photos and you're like, man, what happened?
Right. And the habits are in place
right
then. And we're creatures of habit. I don't care who you are.
Exactly.
But obviously your habits are much better than mine.
Like I say, I've paid attention to health. I wish back in college, I went to school for marketing, and I have a associate's degree in marketing, which I use now. Marketing my business, of course. But I wish I would have been able to go into something like dietitian. But back then, 30 years ago, that wasn't a big deal, and it's kind of evolved, and now it's huge.
It is. Yeah,
so.
It is. There's a lot of folks that do it on their own. You're not. If you were going to be a dietitian years ago, you had to be part of a hospital or a clinic, or and even I don't know if the clinics were big on dietitians back then.
I don't really
know that.
Think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
But now, like I say, people can. It's a standalone business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now it's more like leans towards integrative health, and the Mayo Clinic even has an integrative health area that they talk about integrative health, which is very cool.
Well, again, where I was at a year ago. 300 pounds plus. You go closer to 350 to the 300, to be fair. But you go into the clinic for anything, and they were right away dietitian, nutritionist. You should set up an appointment. You should, we'll hook you up. And it's like, that's not what I'm here for. My foot hurts. It's like whatever it was.
Right.
And they're just like, right, but we should see a dietitian. It's like,
right.
I don't know. Cheeseburgers are fine. I'm good. Just let's make what hurts not hurt. How about that?
Right.
But you don't realize how connected. I shouldn't say you realize.
Yep.
Most of us really don't realize how connected our nutrition is to total health.
It is. It totally. Excuse me. It totally is.
And so in the name Alovea, correct me if I'm wrong, derives from the aloe plant.
Right. The aloe, ALO, represents the aloe vera plant, and vea is means to kind of, it's a suffix that means to do things differently, and we do health differently.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So the fact that the middle of Alovea is Love, that's just a coincidence?
That's like I mentioned before the podcast, Jerry. Everything in our company is really cool the way we name things.
It is. It's very cool.
Yep. Love is in
And
the
I
middle
love the
of
shirt. I like the where you see that. That's
Love is in the middle of our name. It's in the middle of our product, the aloe vera molecule, and it's in the middle of everything we do. We feed kids.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is.
That really is. So, how did you find Alovea, or how did Alovea find you? What's the story there from
Alovea,
2014?
Yeah, Alovea found me, and if I'm going to be totally transparent, the name of the company switched about at the time that COVID was here in 2020. The company started as Evolve, but it evolved into Alovea.
Sure.
And that's a longer story that I won't get into,
Sure.
but we're actually owned by 2 global nonprofits now. And that's how they decided to change the name. And anyway, your question, how did it find me? A friend of mine that was actually on another project that we worked on in the direct sales area, he was very successful, and I knew him in that company, and we both got out of that for whatever reasons, and we weren't involved with that. And a couple years later, he just called me up and says, "Hey, Deb, what do you want to improve about your health?" And my answer to him was, "I don't know, Brian. Why? What do you have?" Because I was, thinking the direct sales industry, and I was really turned on by it. I liked that industry. And he shared his health story with me and what it had done for him. And at the time, Jerry, we had 3 products. That was it.
Okay.
We had our flagship product, the Limitless, which is an anti-inflammatory. It's amazing. We had energy drink, plant-based energy drink called Fuel, which I actually have some with me tonight as well. But we had that, and then we had our meal replacement shake. That was it. And he had wonderful results. He had plantar fasciitis in his feet. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's...
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's when your arches feel like they're on fire.
Yep, it's inflammation.
Yep. You sit down, life's good. And you walk around, life's good. But you sit down, when you go to stand up, that first putting weight on it, you got to, literally walk it off, because the arches are just so
Inflamed.
painful.
Yeah, they're inflamed.
So painful.
Is that just from the soles in your shoes, or?
My friend, he had a job as a mechanic at a steel mill, and he did 16-hour days walking on concrete. And so he developed plantar fasciitis in his feet. And he and his fiance at the time, she's kind of a health coach, and she was telling him, that he's got to do something about his feet, and he was taking 20 Advil a day.
Oh man, that's
20
hard on the
Advil.
stomach.
Yeah, that's what she told me. She says, "Brian, you're going to
Kidneys.
kill your stomach, you're going to ruin your liver." He's like, "I got to work. We're saving up for a wedding."
Yeah.
And about that time, a friend called them from Florida, who actually I know him too, because he was on the project that we both were in a couple years prior. And he says, "Hey, what do you want to improve about your health?" And her name is Danny. She says, "Well, I don't know. What bride wouldn't want to lose a few pounds? And, Brian's feet are just horrible." And he says, "You know what? I have something. I don't know if it can help, but it's not going to hurt." And what these are just little beet capsules. And there's a molecule in beets called betalain. And it actually is the world's best natural anti-inflammatory. Reduces inflammation by 47%. That's according to Cornell University. That's not what we're saying. The cool thing about our products, as a side note, is all of our stuff is all science-backed. We have science like that. It reduces inflammation by 47%. So anyway, he sends them from Florida to Minneapolis. And Brian did like his wife or his fiance told him, just take one in the morning, one at night. It's supposed to help you. And he did that, and went to work like normal. And it was such a gradual improvement, Jerry, that he really didn't even recognize that. When his wife asked him by the 12th day, "Hey, Brian, how many Advil did you have to take yesterday?" And he goes, "You know what? I didn't have to take any." So he went from taking 20 Advil a day to taking none. Just by taking one of these in the morning, one at night, reduced the inflammation enough for his feet not to be on fire, as you described it.
Yeah.
And
which natural vitamin is in that helps with decreasing inflammation?
There's a molecule in beets. You've heard of the red sugar beet, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a molecule in there called betalain. and that molecule reduces inflammation naturally.
Mm.
You've heard of turmeric and how that's supposed to be a good anti-inflammatory. This is actually better
Wow.
So why do these big pharmaceutical companies not adapt more natural vitamins?
because they make too much money selling to people that buy
All this junk.
Yeah. Big Pharma is who we are actually taking on. Our company's taking on Big Pharma because we are going to educate people and say, hey, this is the way it's going to be done naturally. Let thy food be the medicine and medicine be thy food.
And the
Well-
crazy thing is on all these products, you'll see not FDA approved, right? And so I'm a
They're
skeptic.
not
right?
regulated.
You're
Yeah,
right, they're
the
not
supplements
regulated.
aren't
Yeah.
regulated.
But I'm a skeptic, and I think the FDA works heavily with the big pharma
See that-
and
I was gonna say-
pharmaceutical companies.
On the surface, I don't want to get political because I try to stay away from that. But but I mean, seriously,
Right.
you look at all the issues we're going through with government right now. When at a glance on the surface, when you say it's not FDA approved, it's not regulated, that sounds like such a negative. But then you start looking at, these huge these CEOs, these pharmaceutical companies, right, that were making $12 million a year and they're getting $20 million bonuses. Then all of a sudden they go to the CDC, they go to the FDA, and they take on a lead role in these government agencies for $250,000 a year. Right?
Right.
That's what you do. I mean, I don't care who you are. I don't care how much of a humanitarian you are. You're going to go from making, 8 figures a year to like $200,000 out of the goodness of your heart so you can spread the knowledge.
Yeah.
These people are bringing those pharmaceutical things over. And my conspiracy theory, I'm done on my soapbox, but it's just being FDA approved. I don't know if the FDA is really on our side. I'm hoping maybe it'll start now. I mean, you
Right.
get RFK
Yeah,
in there.
yeah.
I think there's some people that really care now, but the system is so corrupt and so broken.
It
You
is.
can't fix it overnight.
Yeah.
We finally had the Red 40 thing come out. Right?
Yeah.
Where-
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we're on our way.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I
mean, that's-
would definitely agree, and I'm
but-
very excited about
Yeah,
RFK.
but it's not going to happen. It's not going to
It's
happen
not gonna
overnight.
happen
No,
overnight.
absolutely
No.
not. But now, and this is going to sound like a gotcha question, which I told you I wouldn't do, right? But and I have a place to go with this, and I think I know your answer. That's why I think I can ask this, and it's not really a gotcha. If I take what's that called, Limitless?
Limitless, yes.
Okay, so if I start taking Limitless, what other things am I going to have to take to counteract the side effects of Limitless?
There is no side
No
effects.
side effects.
No side effects.
So it's not like when I go to my doctor and they prescribe me, which I just went through this. I was diagnosed as diabetic last summer. They put me on a bunch of insulin, 4 shots a day. They put me on metformin, and because of the metformin, there was 2 other drugs. Within 2 weeks, I was having issues. There was 2 other drugs that I had to take. So I went from not being diabetic to being diagnosed diabetic. I'm on insulin, and I had no medications, I should say. Then when I come out of the hospital, I have insulin, 4 shots a day. I have metformin, and I have 2 other drugs that I'm taking. Those 2 other drugs were only there because I was taking metformin.
Yep.
And that's why I've lost all this weight. I mean, because I still love cheeseburgers. I haven't met one I haven't liked. Let's be fair.
So let me ask you:
But-
are there side effects when you eat a cheeseburger?
Oh, yeah, you get fat.
Well,
and that euphoric high. Let's not forget that.
But if you eat it with fries, it's okay.
That's a gotcha.
gotcha.
Wait a minute now. This is a 2-way street, Debra. You can't attack me if I'm not attacking you.
So no, my point was, it's food. Our,
Right.
our stuff is basically food, and it's,
I always tell everybody eat a cheeseburger, just get swelled up. It's not a big
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
It doesn't go away.
It's actually inflammation.
Yeah.
Technically, it's inflammation in your
I mean,
body.
I've never eaten well. I mean, I'm 54 years old, and I've never eaten well. And even this last 6 months, 8 months, I've lost about 112 pounds in
That
8
is
months.
incredible.
Well, it is, but it hasn't been fun.
No, it's not
at
easy.
all. I haven't had a cheeseburger in 8 months, so the withdrawals were horrible. That was not easy.
Well, you
But-
can have the burger, just don't
Yes.
have the bread
Right.
and the
And-
ketchup.
Okay, you can't take away ketchup. You can't take away
Ketchup is
but-
really horrible
I
for
know,
you.
it's so
just
much
this
sugar.
corn syrup. It's just corn syrup that's colored, and it's really horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And sugar.
I haven't done, like the carbs. I haven't done the rice, the bread, the pasta, the potatoes. I haven't done any of that. I have a friend of mine that owns a sushi restaurant, and when I'll go to lunch, she'll have them make the rice the day before, and then refrigerate it and just reheat it. It's when we do sushi, it doesn't get heated, but it literally changes the molecular structure of the rice somehow. I'm not a scientist, and I'm not going to try and give you details, but it does affect the carbs and the way your body uses those carbs and
Right.
your glucose levels,
Weights
things like
absorbed.
that.
Yep.
And so we've learned a lot of little weird things like that I didn't even know was a thing. But yeah, that's you have to take your health serious, and
Yep.
and you can't tell someone to lose weight because they don't listen.
No,
And I
no.
didn't either. It's just someday something's going to happen, and hopefully sooner rather than later that you go, I'm not
Yep.
healthy.
Yep. Yep.
And it took them. They thought I had pancreatic cancer. They said
Ooh.
that's why they thought that was possibly why my diabetic issues came on so fast and so hard. So I had a 2-week span where I waited for the CT that I thought I was going to die.
Oh no.
And again, I'm not looking for sympathy at all, but it's just, 2 weeks to get my affairs in order and make sure that the family was going to be taken care of. And I had kind of came to terms with there's nothing I can do about it. Pancreatic cancer, the survival rate's 6%. I mean, it's next to nothing. And I just decided I was done. So, I didn't cry about it. You just made sure that the family was taken care of. But my point was I had come to terms with there's nothing I can do about this but prepare. I can't fix this. I'm a fixer. And whether I really fix things or not isn't the point. I try. I'm that's my mentality is when there's a problem, I have to fix it. I'm the dad, I'm the husband, I'm, the grandpa, I'm, whatever. I'm the owner at work, I'm the boss. It's like you got to fix things.
Yeah.
And this I couldn't fix. Then when they came back, said, "Oh no, pancreas is fine. It's just you're just diabetic, and I have all these meds that make me feel terrible." And so then I was like, well, type 2 diabetes. They started with type 1, changed their diagnosis to type 2, which is what it was. And I start reading and trying to learn because it's like, well, this I can fix, possibly. And so then the weight loss came. And, I started in the end of August, beginning of September. By the end of October, I was off all the insulin. By the end of November, I was off the metformin. When I got off that, I got to get off the other two because they were just there for the side effects. So it took me literally like 3-4 months, 3.5 months to get off all the medication again. And now it's like I'd like to lose about another 35 pounds. And then I'm terrified because I don't know what I'm going to do when I stop losing to not gain it back, not turn into that guy again. But point being, once I figured out that I could do something, then it's like, well, now you got to do it.
Yeah.
And that was a turning point for me. And I don't know what his trigger or her trigger is going to be.
Right.
I have
It's
no
usually
idea.
something similar to what you went through.
But yeah, it's just sad it took that.
Yeah.
I could have done this. I mean, I wasn't this overweight when I was in my 20s. I was overweight, but not like this.
Yeah.
I could have done this 30 years ago and just had a better
Have
life.
you-
Yep. Quality of life.
Have you had a health crisis or a life-changing incident?
You know what? I was just going to kind of bounce back to your question of how I got into it.
Yep.
So Brian told me a story. I'm like, and I heard about, these products doing that for me. I'm like, well, yeah, if it's good for me, I want to put it in my body. Like I said, I paid attention to health all my life. I'm like, if it's good for me, I want to put that in my body. Even though I was more interested, on kind of like the business end of what he had in his hands.
Right.
And so I started taking the 3 products we had that I mentioned. And so when I answered him, I said, I'm pretty healthy. Why? What do you got, Brian? And so now let me tell you what, quote unquote, pretty healthy looked like. I suffered from migraine headaches, head discomfort, horribly. I was taking Excedrin migraine some days, some weeks, every day. And if I didn't catch it in that little window of time where like this could be a migraine, I better take a couple of them. If I didn't have them in my purse, or if you thought, well, maybe I'll just wait because that's not good for my stomach. If I did miss that window, Jordan, I was out of luck because I'd end up at the ER 2 days later getting IV injections because I had such horrible migraine headaches. And I just thought I was a poor soul that had to live with it. I didn't know there was anything to fix it. And then the other issue I had is I'm a runner, and I had trained for a marathon probably a couple of years before Brian had asked me that question. And I ran my first marathon back in 2010 or 11 or something like that. And training for it, I tore a hamstring severely. I was stretching out. I only had like a 20-minute little window to get a quick run in before I had to work. And I stretched out too fast, and I heard it tear. I'm like, oh. And like a dummy, I went for the run anyway, and I went and saw my chiropractor later that day. He says, yeah, you got to take a few weeks off. So I did, and was able to run the marathon later in the year. But when I was running it, I really poured it on at the end to try to beat this young girl that we were running kind of neck and neck the whole
Yep.
race. And she beat me by like just a millimeter of a second, I think. But on doing that, I re-aggravated that old injury. And I thought, well, every time I go for a run, the first mile or so, it kind of aggravated. I'm like, I just wish I wouldn't have done that, and regret, and I'm like, either I have to probably stop running or just give it up, and I didn't want to do that. Crazy runners, they don't want to give up running.
Nope.
So I then about that time, Brian told me this story, and I'm like, so that's the other issue that I dealt with. I thought, well, either give up my running and live without it, but I didn't want to. So
That's one thing I'll never understand is
it's crazy.
why do people like running?
Endorphins. Have you heard of endorphins?
Yeah, but
They're amazing.
I get out of breath and I'm just like, this is exhausting. This is exhilarating.
Yeah, people tell me I only run if I'm running away from the cops, and I'm like,
Yeah, right.
no,
Or
fine.
big dogs.
Yeah, big dogs. Yeah, you don't stand a chance.
See, I'm not a criminal, and I don't scare easy. I just don't run. It's just not in my
It is a
vocabulary.
crazy thing. You know what? I was never athletic in school, but I became a runner after my divorce, and I started walking, and then it turned into running because my cousin from Tennessee said, "Hey, I'm going to do the St. Jude's half marathon. You want to do it with me?" And he's a bigger guy, and he's just going to walk it. And I'm like, "Sure, I'll do it." So I started, instead of walking to work through my issues with my divorce, I thought, you know what, I'm going to run. So I just started just running a couple miles, and I thought, well, it's, it was a half marathon, so it's only, let's see, 13.1 miles. And so I thought, well, if I can walk a couple, run a couple, walk a couple, I'll be able to do it. But when I got down there, I was running with 5,000 people. I just kept running. I ran the whole darn thing.
Wow.
And that was my first road race. I didn't do
That was a full marathon?
half marathon.
half marathon?
Yeah, 13.1.
Still, yeah, 13
Yeah,
miles.
I mean, most
Oh,
people, when they
gosh.
start their running career, Jerry, they'll do a 3K, 5K, whatever, a little 5-mile race. Not me. I did a half marathon. And that just turned on my excitement for running, and thought someday I'm going to run a full marathon. And I did in 2014, I think it was. I don't remember the year, but
Yeah.
it was in Mankato, and ran my first marathon. That's the marathon that I was training for when I tore my hamstring. And I was running really fast to try to catch that girl.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, though. I mean,
It's totally awesome. And,
One of my guys at work, he's a mechanic,
Yeah.
at my auto shop, and he did a 5K. Maybe it was a 3K. It doesn't matter, but it was around Soldiers Field, and this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. And he lost probably 15, 18 pounds getting ready for it, and he had been training, and he was pretty proud of himself, which, good for him, right? It's like I wasn't in the mood for anything like that, of course, but he runs it Monday morning. I'm like, so how'd it go? He's like, first one, last one. I was like, didn't go well? He goes, well, I thought I was doing all right. And he said, I got about 2/3 way through, and this young lady with a stroller passed me, and I never caught up to her. I didn't see her again till I got to the finish line, and he's like, yes, I'm done. I'm just out. I was like, that's not motivation. It's motivation to quit. He said that was it. He was just done.
Oh my gosh.
So we still bring up the stroller
Yeah,
every now and
that's
then.
right.
It's just, it's such a funny story. But like there, it motivated you,
Yeah.
even though she just got you.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
motivated you. You've been doing it ever since.
Yeah.
With him, he was just like, so
Yeah.
we're all wired different.
Yep, yep.
But yeah, he was so excited about it. I really thought he was gonna run with it, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, no pun intended. But I thought he was gonna continue with it. And then he
Yeah.
said this, and he blamed it on the lady with the stroller.
Talking about stories when you're running, I think it was my first marathon. There was an older couple that, you're running in groups and you're listening to their conversations. And this couple, they're probably in their, I would say late 50s, early 60s, maybe mid 60s. And she's telling this other girl that she's running by, oh yeah, this is our 113th marathon. And I'm just going,
Wow.
oh my Lord.
Wow.
And that was inspiring to me. I thought, well, if they can do it, and I was, quite a bit younger than I am now, but yeah, it's an addiction, Jordan. You just get addicted to it, and it's a weird addiction. It's not a bad addiction.
No,
It's just
no.
kind of crazy. But,
Right.
but
Well,
yeah,
it's crazy to those of us that don't do it.
Right,
I mean,
right.
let's be fair. It just seems, it's like, how could you get addicted to that? How
Yeah.
could that be, But
there's some things
Yeah.
that I think people are crazy for doing too.
Right, yeah.
This is, everybody's different. But
Everybody's different.
Yeah,
You got to
so-
respect that.
Yeah.
You know,
So back to my health transformation.
Yeah.
Then, so I didn't know if I'd be able to continue running or not, and then I told Brian that I'm pretty healthy, and I ended up getting on these products, and mine was like his too. It was kind of a gradual thing. I was taking the beet pill, or the Limitless. We call it the beet pill, Limitless. I was taking the Limitless, just one in the morning, one at night. I was drinking the fuel and taking the shake every day for breakfast. And I was running one Saturday, a couple weeks into it, after I'd been taking the products, and I'm like, I had some tennis elbow, and I kind of like, wow, my elbow doesn't bother me anymore, and I recognized that the hamstring wasn't nagging me the first couple months. I'm like, this is really awesome. And then being on the products a little bit longer, probably like a couple months, I recognized that I wasn't getting the migraine headaches anymore.
I was going to ask, how long did it take before the migraines weren't?
Yeah, I wasn't taking the Excedrin migraine as often. If I did get a migraine, it wasn't nearly as bad. It didn't last as long, and so I thought that's pretty cool. And then about a year after I'd been on the products, the product that we're drinking, the Fix.
Yes. I was going to say she brought treats.
Yes,
So.
the Fix came out, and that is when Sam Castor came to our company, and he brought with.
So he wasn't the founder, or he didn't start this?
Nope. A couple
Okay.
that's part. Excuse me. That's part of the long story that
Sure.
I wasn't going to get into. But yeah, Sam brought with him the Alovea technology, and he owned the rights to that. And that technology is the first. The Fix is the first product that had that technology in it. And since I've been taking that, and I'm a product of all the other products, I don't get migraines at all anymore.
Wow.
So anybody that you know needs to know about this.
Yeah, and that aloe vera plant is just amazing too. When me and my wife this past year, we went on our honeymoon, we went to St. Martin in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. And I got burned head to toe. I was out there all day, and I thought I was putting enough sunscreen on. You can never put enough sunscreen on when you go down there, right? But I got charcoaled, right? Oh, I was in so much pain, and we went to this beach, and I was physically like apparent that you could tell that I was just uncomfortable just standing there. And this guy popped out of nowhere, and he goes, "Here, let me help you." And I was like, okay. And he took this, like the aloe vera lotion,
Okay.
well, the lotion I had, right? And he threw it out of sight. And I was like, what? And he goes, stop using that. It's cheap. They dilute it with alcohol, and it's just going to dry you up even more. And he pulled out the aloe vera plant, and he just crushed his hand in it and rubbed it all over my body, and it's the weirdest experience because I'm sitting there.
You were of age at the time.
Who is this?
Right?
Oh, I was of age.
Okay, just check. Just want to make sure we're not getting off track.
My
here.
wife was getting a cackle out of it, right? She was dying laughing. She thought it was so funny because I was just this strange man is rubbing me down head to toe with this plant that I didn't even know what it was, and I just felt so much better. It was crazy. And he was like, here, and he pulled some more out, and he goes, here, you can have it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how much for it? And he goes, oh, I don't charge for medicine. Now, for the service, if you wanted to give me a tip, that'd be great. But I don't. Here, we don't charge for medicine.
Nice.
It's natural. And he goes, "What resort are you staying at?" And I told him, and he goes, "Okay, there's plants all around the resort. Just break you off a leaf. They grow back really quick. But all throughout the Caribbean, these natural plants, it's just like these healing remedies."
Yep.
And we were talking to the taxi driver, not to change the subject on it, but we were talking to the taxi driver. He goes, "Yeah, my mom told us every single day we would drink aloe, just a shot of aloe vera every single day." And I mean, the people down there, as much sun exposure they have, their skin looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Their skin looks fantastic.
Yep. Yeah,
That's awesome.
It is. You look at the natural remedies. It's the hard part I have with the supplements. Because they're not FDA regulated, we talked about that. I don't put a lot of credence into the FDA regulation.
Right.
So get that out. We've already said that. But how do you know who is putting out a quality product and who's not? Because there's so many products out there. If you Google any kind of supplement, any kind of that you want, I mean the list, it's it never ends, and it's just one product after another, and they're all making these grandiose claims. And so I do like when you reference Cornell, because I can create a supplement legally and tell you how great it is, whether it does anything or not. I do like that you have that kind of third-party verification.
Yep.
That makes a difference to me.
Yep.
That's something I feel there's credence there.
Right. As I mentioned, you're not wrong, Jerry. There's thousands of different supplements out there. And how do you know? You just got to find one that you trust the person that, is telling you about it. That, and that they give you, like I mentioned earlier, we have the science. We have Cornell University that says that, about our Limitless product and a lot of our other products too. I could sit here all night and tell you how amazing, the people
you
that
brought,
back
we were joking, but seriously, she brought treats. This is Fix, correct? Tell us about Fix. What are we drinking?
Fix is a natural product. It's a little drink packet that you pour into your water. It has an herb in it called ashwagandha, and that actually lowers cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone, so Fix will fix you. It lowers your stress. It also helps with sleep. It just kind of, when I first started drinking it when it came out, I would just kind of just melt in my chair in the evening like, oh, wow, it just really relaxes you. So it's excellent for that. It even helps with weight loss because cortisol is the stress hormone, and that's what causes belly fat. And this will help reduce the cortisol, so that obviously will help with the weight loss as well.
I had a whole lot of cortisol when I was working in insurance.
Oh,
hats off to those insurance agents, man. But I was stressed all the time.
So that's a new term for me. I don't know if I'd even heard of cortisol until 8 months ago but with the diabetic side of things, it's the cortisol. It affects your glucose. It in a guy it will tear down your testosterone also. So, and if you go to the gym, you can go to the gym all you want. If your testosterone's low, you're just fighting an uphill battle.
Right.
You're not gonna.
Or high cortisol. Yeah. You're fighting that battle.
And when you talk about losing weight, I mean, again, I'm down just over 100 pounds, but that inner tube, that tire that you carry around your waist,
that's cortisol.
That doesn't go away, and that's the cortisol, right? So, so that's a big thing. Now, this is like a berry flavor of some sort. Is it one flavor for it?
That's the only flavor.
Let's say it's very good.
Yep,
yeah,
it's got a nice berry flavor to it. Yeah, and it's.
I was a little nervous. I hate, and I hate to use the word hate, but I hate raspberries. And when I smelled this, it smells like raspberry, but it doesn't taste like raspberry.
It's kind of I don't know. It's kind of a mixed. It's a strawberry flavor.
Yeah,
kind of
it's very good. I was a little nervous because even when you poured it in Jordan's, I could smell it.
Really?
I could smell the powder as you're pouring it in. I'm thinking, oh, that smells like raspberries. Like but no, it's very good. I like it.
I'm glad you like it. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Speaking of testosterone, we have another product called Balance, and we all have hormones in our body. Okay, we all have 86 hormones, I think. There's just one that's different between men and women, estrogen and testosterone. And Balance will help to balance your hormones. Now, hormones are little messengers inside our body that tell every cell, every tissue, every organ what to do and when to do it. So it's very important to keep your hormones balanced. Even the beating of our heart and sleeping has to do with hormones. So this is an amazing product. It's actually been out for about 6.5 years. And it seems to be a really big hit with the ladies. When you say the word hormone, you think, oh, that's a women issue. Well,
yeah, right.
It's really not. Like I said,
when you're 30, you think that. When you're 50, you're like, oh, that's me.
Right, because men have prostate issues and all that stuff. Yep. I mean, I have a friend that,
Jordan doesn't get this yet, but
you will.
Just hold off as long as you can.
Yeah.
But
when I hear hormone or hormonal, I'm just like, well, get that in check.
Yeah. Right? Help us all. Just get that taken care of.
Right. That's all I think.
This helps with PMS. It helps with hot flashes. And that's about where I was, when this product came out. I was just getting into that age, and I'm like, I'd be all dressed ready for work to put on you got to go put my makeup on. I know what colors to put on because I'm wearing blue or red, pink or whatever. And then I'd be in the mirror and like, oh my Lord. And I'd have to like take off clothes because I'm like, it was so hot. It was such a weird, it's a weird thing that, probably men will never understand. But all of a sudden.
One of the guys at work, my partner actually, Darwin, at work, he's a little older than I am. He's about 59. But he gets hot flashes.
Really?
And he looks. I mean, when it happens to him at work, he looks miserable. I mean,
it's horrible.
Because he'll come up. At first, I thought he was having a heart attack. I mean, the first time I saw him going through it, because it's noticeable. Let's be honest. When you're at work, you spend more time with these people than you do your family.
Yeah.
I mean, so you become family. You get to know them. And it's like the first time I went through it, I thought he was dying. I was like, are you all right? And he goes, I'm just having a hot flash. I'm like, is there something we need to talk about? I mean, I thought all the women got that. Is there?
No, I'm
he's
sure
like,
men can get it too.
Yeah, he's like, he goes, don't tell me that. He said, I wish only women got it.
Yeah,
He said,
men can get breast cancer too.
We have a customer that passed away from breast cancer actually a few years ago.
Yeah. So hormones is not just a woman issue. So this helped immensely. I mean, it's awesome for my friend actually Brian that told me about the Alovea products in the beginning. He when this product came out was having issues with his prostate. He was waking up 5 times a night to use the restroom, and his chiropractor was puzzled, didn't really know what to help him with, and so then this product came out, and he started taking, you do 2 in the morning, 2 at night, and he now doesn't get up at all to use the restroom. Maybe once in a while he'll get up once a night. So men have issues with their prostate, and this is amazing. That helps with that. Young girls that are just getting to the puberty and menopause and stuff, that it helps immensely with that as well. So people, under 12, we don't recommend not to take the bounce. So. But it's an amazing product. And it's balanced. Again, the name is kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
Fixes you, balances your hormone.
And so a lot of these products, they have natural ingredients that come from food.
All of them.
From food, right?
Mm-hmm.
But why are there all these dietary supplements out there if I could just go to the grocery store and buy the food?
Great question. So remember our Limitless?
Mm-hmm.
The molecule that comes from beets is called betalain. So each one of these little beet pills, you think, why couldn't I just go eat a beet? Well, I'll tell you that, Jordan, that each one of these little capsules is equivalent to get the same amount of betalain, you'd have to eat 500 cooked beets.
Wow.
And if you did that, you'd probably be in the bathroom for a while.
Right.
So,
yeah. That's supposed to be late for work. That's going to take a while.
Right. So
hold on. I have to eat 500 beets real quick to get my daily dose.
And then I'm going to need a break.
Yeah. I was in Hy-Vee one time. I was doing kind of a side hustle for the Pepperidge Farm guy who had an amazing diabetes story. He was in Alovea as well. So I was helping him out, putting bread on shelves for him. And I would talk to everybody that came along in the aisle, and there was this guy that came up to me. I was putting the bread on the shelves, and I don't know, I was pretty active about in the 3-foot rule. If they were within 3 foot, I'd mention, hey, what do you want to improve about your health and stuff. And so it came up, the health thing came up, and ended up telling him about inflammation and how this amazing product. I said, well, I eat beets, and I ended up telling him how it helped reduce inflammation and stuff. And he goes, well, how many of them do you have to eat? And I goes, I eat 1,000 a day because I take 1 in the morning, 1 at night. So I eat 1,000 beets every day. He turned out he was a radiologist at Mayo.
Oh.
He was a doctor, so he just kind of looked at me like, wow. Anyway, so I didn't get too far with him, but it was kind of funny. It just reminded me. It just reminded me of, go to the store and, buy whatever. But yeah, it was pretty fun. Yeah, we have amazing products. So
yeah. I got a question. So a lot of people want to try it before you buy it, right? Mm-hmm. But you can't just try it one time and get your fix, and then this is a product that you'd have to consistently.
We actually just talked about that.
Yep.
Take for maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks before you see results, right?
Exactly. Well, when you go to the doctor and they switch your blood pressure med or whatever, like Jerry was mentioning, they'll say, try it for 3 months and then, come back and see how you're doing. So when I sit down with somebody and tell them about our products and how amazing they are, and they decide, well, yeah, I think I want to try this, I'm like, well, here's the deal. You don't want to just try it for a month and say, oh, I didn't feel anything. Give it a 3-month try, just like
Right.
the doctor would recommend
Right.
you try it for 3 months. So,
Same thing in my industry. I say,
Yep.
savings are good for 1 month, but let's look at it on
Yeah.
a 3 month
Yeah.
standpoint, and then we'll go from there if we
Yeah.
need to
See, my
adapt
business
or-
is way different. It's like, well, you walked here, you're going to drive home.
Yeah. Gosh. We need to all just become mechanics. Let's do it. Life's just so much easier. You don't have to wait 3 months.
Yeah. It has a lot to do with we live in a microwave society. People want results like right now.
Right.
Well, and like you and I.
Instant gratification.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And Debra and I were talking about this the other day because I was looking at the products. And so, well, I've got samples, but it's going to be samples of like Fix or the meal replacement. See if you like it. I mean,
Yep.
not
The
that
taste of it.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. See if you enjoy it. Let me put it
Right.
that way. Not that
Right.
it works, but let's see if you enjoy it. If it does, well, then you can buy in. But then it comes back to what we talked about just as we started this. How do you know? Well, we trust you. I mean, we
Right.
know you. We trust you.
Right,
You know, I mean,
right.
I've known you for going on 20 years.
Yep.
Jordan had met you in the last 6 months, 7 months, something like that.
Yeah,
You know.
7, 8 months ago.
Yep. Yep. But you leave a good impression. I mean, so that's that and then of course now there's what we've touched on: Limitless, Balance, Fix.
We want that.
Something.
Those are the only two I've mentioned the Fuel,
Yeah, the
which
Fuel,
is a
yep,
sister
yep.
product to the other product that I really want to talk to you about is the Immune.
Okay.
The Immune, obviously the name, it helps
Mm-hmm.
your immune system, and that is actually the aloe vera molecule. Have an amazing story about how that came to our company. It's kind of long and detailed, so I'll try to just give you a short overview. So Sam Castor brought this technology with him when he came to our company. And a little bit of background on Sam. He had a company similar to this back in the 90s called Manatech, and basically it was the aloe vera molecule and some other whole food
What a
supplements.
terrible name, though.
Right, Manatech?
Yeah, it sounds so. Well, it sounds
It's different.
technology. It sounds
was-
like synthetic. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds not
So,
not what you're after.
Let me give you the background
Yeah.
on that. Sam is one of the most humble and spiritual people that I've ever had the pleasure of knowing, and manna is manna from heaven.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so manna and technology.
Yeah, but what a terrible name.
It's
I mean,
kind of
for-
a different name.
right, for
the
what-
company actually still exists.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. and there are
Not
people.
really.
There
It's
are
still a
people
terrible
probably.
name.
If people in this town that if you said Manatech, they would know. They would.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking when you talk about the natural and all that, Manatech,
Manatech.
does not. It doesn't reverberate that at all. Yeah. It definitely doesn't manifest
Yeah.
that kind of feeling. So
Yeah,
yeah.
he took that company public to 26 different countries around the
Really?
world. Yeah, he did, and had a lot of success with it. And then him and his wife couldn't have children on their own, so they adopted 5 kids from different parts of the world, and because his company's in 26 different countries. When he adopted his daughter from Romania, the caretakers there made a comment like, oh, I just wish somebody could do something about childhood malnutrition. And Sam goes, well, why? What do you mean? And he says, well, every year in this orphanage, she said, we lose 35 to 40 children. And Sam's like, oh my gosh. He says, I have a company. I want to help. Because they'd get a little flu or something or a virus and they'd get sick and die because their immune systems were so poor. And so Sam went back to his company, Manatech, and they formulated out all whole foods, most of it being the aloe vera molecule. And they formulated a powder. And it was designed that you take a gram of that powder, you sprinkle it on the beans or rice or whatever the child had to eat, and it would give them macro and micronutrients to sustain them for 24 hours. And so Sam took that powder, he gave it to the caretakers, and he explained how to use it. And so they did that. And he returned to that orphanage about a year later, and they told Sam it's the first year in a decade that we didn't lose one single child.
How in the world did he convince an orphanage to sprinkle powder
Yeah.
on kids' food?
You know what? When you're losing 35 or 40 children
Wow.
a day, you'll do anything. It's like, oh, maybe
Well,
this will help them.
Yeah.
And
Look
so,
at what Bill Gates gets away with in Africa. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with this story at all. You Google that. You look at the atrocities that guy and Fauci. I mean, these guys. You look at the atrocities that these guys support in third world countries, and it's it's crazy. I mean, it just makes you cry inside. Just so that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
Sam went on. He went on. Then he thought, okay, this is going to work, and so he went on to start a nonprofit called Mana. It's another Mana.
Okay.
It's way better.
Yeah,
Mana
way better.
It's Mana Relief.
Oh, okay.
ManaRelief.com. It's a global nonprofit.
Okay.
Him and his
Still
wife.
exists?
Yes.
Okay.
It actually is one of the global nonprofits that owns
Oh,
Alovea
okay.
now for that name change
Sure.
that I mentioned. But ManaRelief.com and is where you can find it. But they have about, I think last I knew, 90 plus countries that are involved with this nonprofit. And their goal is to distribute this molecule from aloe vera to children in need.
Right.
And so that's part of our aspect of being a social business. Mana Global, the nonprofit distributes the servings that we
Sure.
end up giving by,
And
selling.
buy one, they get
Buy
one.
one, give one,
Yep.
yeah.
Buy one,
Yeah.
give one. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, like to Jordan's point, how do you convince that? It's easy for us to sit here and I'm with you. I get it. I mean, I there's no way that I could sign off on something like that if I were in charge. Not until you know. And I don't know how you know until you sign off on it. It's that double-edged sword.
Right.
But it's easy for us to sit here, I mean, well, we talked about this little podcast studio, right? It's nothing special, but we were able to just throw it together because I thought it'd be fun, right? And this is a first world country. If I want to eat cheeseburgers or I want to eat something really healthy, I mean, whatever it is, that was available to me on the way home tonight. I could have stopped anywhere, picked up anything, eat anything as much as I want. It's not that we can't afford it. It's not that it's not available. You take all that first world amenities, all those things that we take for granted every day, and it's gone. I mean, I couldn't imagine working somewhere and losing 35 children every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
I mean, that creates desperation.
Yeah.
And that's how you convince someone to sprinkle something
Yeah.
on their food
Yeah.
Right.
that we just can't. I mean, I can't fathom doing that. Going, oh, this is a good idea. Let's just see if we're
Yeah.
poisoning these children. And no offense to what's his name? I'm
Sam
sorry.
Castor,
Sam Castor.
yeah.
Yeah, no offense to him, of course. But I'm
No.
just saying, when you put yourself in that situation, they didn't know what they were getting.
Right.
You
So
know?
then these
So it's amazing.
these orphanages, they kind of all network, right? And so
Sure.
then the word spread, and so Sam's nonprofit was having a hard time keeping up, and then that was back when the first recession kind of hit, 2008, whatever.
Yep.
And he lost 60% of his donor base, and so then he had to decide, okay, the company that he started, Manatech, they were public, so the board of directors, they
He's not
cared more
necessarily in
about
control,
profits.
right?
And so Sam sat his family down. He says, okay, we can, continue on. We do fine like this, or we can leave this company, leave it all, and go leave a legacy in the world. And so his kids were all from that side of the street, and they said, yeah, let's do it, Dad. And then he left the company and thought, okay, now what do I do? I have the best molecule in the world. He still had the rights to it because Manatech let him have the rights to it for a
So
while.
he patented aloe?
He owned the rights to it. There's kind of a longer story of how he got it. I don't want to go into too many of the details because it gets pretty long-winded of me. But there was a place out of Dallas, Texas that they research food, and they're the ones that found out about it. Talking about the FDA,
Yep.
They tried to get it FDA approved because they found this molecule in the ace-mannan. It's acetylated beta something 4-mannan. Scientists shortened it and called it ace-mannan, and it's the molecule that's in the aloe vera plant, and that company tried to have the FDA approve it because they thought, well, we can make a lot of money on it because
Right.
if it can heal whatever a human, we can make a lot more money if we make a drug out of it. The thing with the FDA is you have to get a LD 50, lethal dose 50. They test everything, whether it's Tylenol or your drugs for your diabetes, whatever it is. It has to register an LD 50 lethal dose. They need to where's the lethal dose that'll kill a human. So they run these tests on it to get the measurement, and when they reach the where it kills 50% of the mice that is tested on, somehow they know that that's the level that the LD50 is. Well, aloe vera is totally non-toxic and it won't kill anything, so it never registered an LD50. So the FDA told this company in Texas, sorry, no LD50, we're not going to register it as a drug. And they're like, wait, this is the
So
most
it can't
amazing.
kill you. We can't use it as a medicine.
Right.
Exactly. Pharmaceuticals are the most non-toxic, or excuse me, the most toxic thing you put into your body.
Oh, absolutely.
They are.
Yeah.
So this is what happened. That company started researching, and they spent $200 million of research to try to prove it. Like, no, this is an amazing molecule. It's incredible. And they said, sorry, no LD50, we're not going to register it. And so that's about when Sam Castor entered the picture. And they contacted Sam. They wanted him to sell it as a supplement, which is not FDA,
Right.
approved.
Right.
So, and that's how we kind of got involved in it. And then that's how he paid millions of dollars to the company for the rights to that molecule. And that's when he started his company, and it took it around the world to 26 different countries.
So how do you, as a business, convince people to try a product that's not FDA regulated? Is that a big hurdle for you to overcome?
I don't ever try to convince anybody to buy it. I just tell them what I know about it and the science that we have backing it, Jordan. And it's always up to them if they want. If you want to try it, you try it. I mean, I know, like I know. I spoke earlier to you how I know that our science is way up here. Yeah, and that's from being around it for so long. And so the people that I tell and share this with, I hope that they trust me enough to know that, wow, I guess, because I've known Sam. I know he's on my phone. I could call him up right now and he could talk to you. He'd probably talk to you. He'd love to talk to you. He does podcasts. But yeah, he's an amazing human being, and he just has a heart for children, and he wants to leave a legacy in the world. He said, I've heard him say this many times when I've heard him speak, that they will write history books about what we are about to do. We're going to eradicate malnutrition around the world.
Wow.
Yeah, and he speaks of RFK, and he actually, at our thing in Dallas we had this spring, I didn't get to make it this year, but the attorney for RFK was the speaker at our conference down in Dallas, so he, it's kind of connected there. He also speaks very highly, and I meant to bring the book with me to show you, a book by Dr. Casey Means. If you don't know who that is, she wrote a book called Good Energy. Amazing book. I went out and bought it when Sam was touting about it on our different calls. But now she's been named Surgeon General, I think.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And she used to be an amazing surgeon. Well, she still is a surgeon. But she left the practice when she found out that basically we're just putting a Band-Aid on it when we just give people pharmaceuticals. She just got tired of that.
Well, there's no money in cures.
No. She left the industry, and her brother was actually in the pharmaceutical industry doing different things, and he realized the malarkey with it all and says, you know what, let's go together. And they've worked on this book together, so they both are the authors of it. Highly recommend reading. It's pretty sciencey. Even it was a little sciencey for me, but I listened to it on Audible, and it's very, very good. And of course, I heard Sam talk about it on our calls, and he's so good at explaining things and making it, understandable to the common person.
Right.
And he's been in nutrition for 35 years, and he's amazing.
It's always difficult because I'm obviously this podcast, Small Business Talk, right? I'm a huge advocate for small business, and the goal for small business is to not remain small business. Now, that's not everyone's goal. You can't say never or always. Well, you're right. There's exceptions to every rule, but the majority of the goal, people want to scale a business, whether they get there or not. But in business, the goal is to be profitable, right? You have to make a living. You have to make money. You have to have money to spend money. If you're going to scale the business, it's going to cost money. If you're going to buy groceries, it's going to cost money. If you're going to buy Alovea, it costs money, right?
Exactly.
No matter how great it is, it all costs money. But you have to determine, when do we put those profits ahead of people?
Right.
And that's where the problem comes in, is looking at like pharmaceuticals. The world would be tough without pharmaceuticals.
Right.
Right? It would. Our life expectancy in some cases would be less. Some cases, I think, it would be more. It's possible.
Yeah.
But when you all these, and even like go to the grocery store. If you want to buy healthy food, it has its own section. What's the rest of it? Right? I mean, honestly,
That's where
if you
RFK comes in.
right, well, that is where RFK comes in. But I mean, when you go to a grocery store and you have to ask, "Where's the health food section?" It's like, well, shouldn't the whole damn store, pardon
should
my
be.
French,
Right.
but
Right.
shouldn't the whole store be healthy? I mean,
Right.
They should have a section that's not healthy.
Well, there's people
yeah, I mean-
that want to keep eating their cheeseburgers, though,
I
right?
guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty. I don't,
Yeah.
but I want to. But that's it. And let's face it, most of this stuff it's very addicting. I mean, very addicting.
They put stuff in it to make it addictive.
Absolutely.
They do.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
who's coming up with that? That's these pharmaceutical companies. They're
Food, it's
more
big
than just
food.
right.
It's big food and big pharma.
Big food,
Those
big
are who
pharma.
we're fighting against.
And but you put two fingers up. They're not two.
They're one.
They're one. Yeah. I mean, they're
exactly.
one. Yeah.
Yep.
There's no question. They're
Yep.
one.
Yep.
Yeah. It's so I don't want to get into cost because everything's got its own cost, and that's what you're here for. Is we want to. Can you tell folks how to get what's the best way to get a hold of you to learn more about Alovea, the products, the costs, how they should be doing it? What's a good way to get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is to reach out and text me or call me, and I can give my phone number.
Yep, if you have-
507-951-0494. Texting or calling is the best.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Yep. Well, like I say, folks, I have known Debra for going on 20 years. You won't find a better person. So if you need some advice or you just want some more information, she's got it. And she's a great delivery tool for that. It's a very, very easygoing. Anything else you want to bring up before we wrap things up?
You know what? This has been really fun and exciting, Jerry. I want to
Good.
thank you for this opportunity.
You're
It's
welcome.
been awesome, and Jordan, you're been very inspiring as well to sit
Yes.
here and
Yeah.
contribute. I appreciate
Very
that.
interesting.
Well, I appreciate you making time to come out because I know it's kind of scary at first. You're not sure how it's going to go
I'm
or
a
what
little
it's going to
nervous,
do.
but after I got here, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. We really try to keep it conversational. I guess
Yeah.
I always use that term, but how about you, Jordan? What did you get from tonight? How did this go?
A great experience. I learned a lot more about the vitamins and a lot of health facts. And it's very inspirational to hear that there is a business out there that is putting so much more effort into ending world hunger,
Yeah.
and malnutrition.
Malnutrition, correct,
Malnutrition,
yeah.
right?
Malnutrition.
Not necessarily world hunger, but yeah. And
That's what
it's-
cheeseburgers
it's-
are for.
Right.
But she's going to keep you healthy while you eat it.
Right. Yeah. I'll do my best.
But it really is. It's truly inspirational that there is a company out there working just as hard.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it really is, and surrounded with good people. Because
Yeah, good people.
we talk about this in our networking group, our referral group all the time. You're there for the business, but it doesn't work without the people.
Exactly.
It's all about the people
And relationships, yeah.
relationships, right? If you talk about the business, you'll get some. If you build the relationships, you're solid.
Yep.
Period. That's the foundation that it's all built on. And I think here too, that was my first question: is how do we differentiate Alovea from the other thousands of and there's other good ones out there, I'm sure. They're not all scams, but there's scams out there too. There's the worthless stuff, there's the good stuff, and there's all kinds of stuff in between. And you have to. I'm not smart enough to differentiate those.
Yeah.
I need you. I need someone that I can talk to
Yep.
that I can believe and get into it. And then then you factor in cost, and there's all kinds of variables
Yep.
that you have
Yep.
to deal with. And
Yep.
accessibility. But yeah, so I really impressed. I really glad that we had a chance to have you in and talk about this and get some details. But
Great.
folks, Alovea, Debra Patzner, she gave you her number. Reach out. You won't regret it. Guys, thanks so much for coming out tonight.
Yeah, of course.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Yep. Thank you.